Okay, so if I believe YouTube, the stream is now live. Sorry to say good morning, Corey. How you doing? Yeah, interesting weather here over the weekend, so I thought I'd talk a little about that and a couple of other things this morning. So thanks for joining in. Once again, sorry for the weird time change stuff and the fact that Arizona doesn't change its clocks. So now we're on 8 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. We used to be on Pacific Time, but hey, we're one of those weird states that just doesn't change the clocks. So the image up on screen right now is from this morning. Walked outside a few minutes ago, took a shot. So we don't have snow-covered streets or anything, but it is in fact freezing here. Yesterday was something else with the winds. And there's Jody sitting among her leaves, and off to the left, you can't see it, but a leaf blower, which is completely useless right now. One of the things about northern Arizona is that we always have a lot of wind. So when I first moved out here, spring of 2007, I was completely and totally blown away by the amount of wind here. So really, really surprised me when I first got here with the Airstream and just waiting for the Airstream to roll over in some of the winds. So hope everyone has had a good week. We didn't get any other videos up on YouTube, but I have been adding to the stuff over on Teachable. We'll talk about that later, or maybe we'll talk about that next week. Wanted to just touch base on a couple of things because we've got some upcoming jobs for clients, and as we've been talking to the clients, we've also been letting them know weather dependent. We're always saying weather dependent, and we've been turning down some other recent contracts as well. And that has more to do with the pandemic, and I'll talk to you guys a little later about that as well. The first thing I wanted to do before we get into the weather stuff, I'm just pulling up, I've got Litchi and Ground Station Pro. I've got several things up. A few days ago, I took the time to go over to 51 Drones and catch up with Russ. Hey, good morning, Ray. How are you doing? Yeah, Jody's a real person. She does hide from the camera as much as possible. So like me, she likes to be behind the camera. I'm getting over it though. I mean, I've been doing these live streams for quite a while, so it still feels weird to put yourself on camera sometimes. So Jody hides away from the camera a lot. But and she was also borrowing my orange North Face jacket because that thing is just super warm. But we were in the 20s yesterday, and we had winds in the 30 plus mile an hour zone. So days like that, you're not flying. You're just not flying. But so anyways, went over to 51 Drones, Russ's channel. I've enjoyed his stuff for years. I like his reviews, and he was talking about the new Mini 2, and it reminded me of what we talked about a couple weeks ago and what I've been doing in some of the new classes, which is reminding people that the newest drone might not be the best. It might not be the best for your business use case, okay? Watching the videos on the Mini 2, I'm interested. I think that looks like it could be a really fun little drone, and it sounds like it's pretty stable even in stronger winds. So, a lot of features that were interesting to me, and go figure that I forgot to turn off my email, so I'm killing that. All those background sounds that you have to deal with before you start doing a live stream, right? So in watching Russ's video on the Mini 2, he pointed out two things right at the start of a recent video on it. And that was that the DJI goggles right now are not working with the Mini 2. And the DJI Smart Controller can't be connected up to the Mini 2. And he put the caveat on there, yet. So he's thinking by the end of this year, that you'll probably be able to do goggles and you'll be able to do the smart controller, and that's great. But on this channel, we talk about a lot of practical drone applications. I've been trying to classify my channel yesterday. We're a weird niche market where I'm talking about building my own business, sharing that with all of you, and we can all help each other through our business growth, sharing ideas and information. But one of the big things for us when we're talking about practical applications is, if I get this brand new drone, can I go out tomorrow and use the tools that I've been using for doing my client flights? And whenever these new drones come out, I get more questions and comments on some of my older YouTube posts. Hey, does the Mavic Mini work with this particular application? Does the Mini 2 work with it? Does the Mavic Air 2 work with it? So everyone gets these new drones, and then they realize afterward, hey, some of my tools aren't updated yet for the new drone. So therefore, getting that brand new drone right off the bat before everything's developed for it doesn't make a lot of business sense for us. Now, if we're out just flying around having fun, that Mini 2 looks really interesting, and the price tag wasn't bad either. So um, even their Fly More combo with the additional batteries, that just didn't sound painful compared to the investments that I have in my drones and all the batteries that I have. But so I just wanted to pull up some of these, the third-party applications that I use the most, and just point out, so the Mini 2 isn't showing up on their lists yet. Doesn't mean it's not slated for it, but I'm looking at the Ground Station Pro tab here right now. Compatible products. So we've got the Mavic 2, the Mavic 2 Pro, the Zoom, the regular Mavic Pro, Phantom 3, we've got the Phantom 4. As you go down this list, doesn't look like the Air 2 is on here, and doesn't look like the Mini 2 is on here. They also tell you the compatible cameras. So DJI Ground Station Pro, it's a DJI product, and they're not listing these newest drones yet. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but if you want to incorporate this into your regular flights right away, you really should go out and do your research on the applications that you're using. See when the latest updates are coming out. If you can, participate in one of their forums so that you know the latest and greatest info, because sometimes these product pages don't get updated immediately. So I also looked over at Map Pilot, because I do use Map Pilot regularly from Maps Made Easy and now Drones Made Easy. I like how they keep changing the names. But they've got their list of supported hardware as of September 21st, 2020. And, when the SDK comes out, the software developer kits come out for these third parties, it does take time. Their programmers don't make these things instantly overnight, so there is development time going on. But in looking through here, I didn't see the Mini 2 in here as well. Let's see, we've got the Mavic 2. Where is the Mavic Air 2? Doesn't look like the Mavic Air 2 is on here either, so that's just taking a look at Map Pilot. Over to Drone Harmony, also on the Drone Harmony platform. It's not looking like the Mini 2 is available yet. So for those of you who are Android users using something like Drone Harmony, not there yet. They do have a fair number of drones that are functioning with their product, but once again, it depends on when the SDKs come out and what the priority is. How big is your market base going to be for doing modeling work with a Mini 2? Who knows? We'll see over time as people start using these beyond just the for fun flights. But in the meantime, you really should do your homework. That way, you don't get the new drone and then you're disappointed. And then, like I said, on some of my older videos on this channel, I'm getting a lot of new people asking questions about the new stuff coming out because they stumbled across one video or another. And so they're checking in with me to see, hey, what have you heard? And, even over on Litchi, but this Litchi document's way out of date. So I'd say, you need to get on some of their support platforms to see what they're saying. But their last update on the website for their supported items was November 29th of 2019. So over a year ago, so maybe they'll be having something pop up there. But so if you're used to using Litchi, let's say for construction progression reporting, I think that Mini 2, you could do some of that construction progression reporting, some of those time-lapse videos and the time-lapse photography. I see that as a realistic opportunity for that little drone. And, if you can't tell, I am interested in the Mini 2, but I'm not spending the money yet until I get a little more information. For those of you new to the channel, if you see me glancing over on this side, I've got one screen up with the chat window up, and then I'm also looking over at this computer monitor when we're going over stuff. So that's why I'm back and forth. So not being twitchy about being on camera, just explaining to you why we're doing that. All right. So if you're looking at some of those new drones and you've got the set of apps that you're usually using in the field, then my suggestion would be whatever those applications are that you're using, go check those first before you make a purchase, so that you can find out, yes, it's available now, or no, it's coming soon, and you can plan accordingly. So let me look on over. Oh, Matt, you got the Mini 2 coming soon. All right. Expectation is to use just for photos and videos. I might check out Drone Link to see if that works. I've had a couple people talk to me about Drone Link now. I am going to take a look at it in the near future. Um, Between projects for my Teachable channel and projects for clients, I've been juggling a couple of things, and also we've pushed out a couple of our client jobs. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But Matt, when you get your hands on that and you start playing around with it, I hope you pop into the channel and let us all know what works with it, what doesn't work with it, and what you think. The flight reviews so far that I've seen from other people suggest to me that this might actually be a little something that I'd like to have on hand for fun flights. I'm also thinking about it for still photography. And when we're doing the construction progression work, I'm not having people ask for that in 4K. Usually these folks are very practical. They're trying to minimize costs. They're willing to spend, of course, but they don't need a 4K video to show off the changes in their construction sites. Oh, and before we get to weather, I want to give y'all one more piece of news. Yes, I said y'all. A long time ago, I lived in Florida, so that comes up occasionally. 2 weeks ago now, and I haven't mentioned this on channel, I completely forgot to. 2 weeks ago, I put a bid in on a new construction project. This is a large-scale construction project, building a new segment of highway and building a new bridge to cross a river here in Arizona. And I say river with air quotes because a lot of the times the rivers are empty during the drought season. So we would like to see some more rain here. We need it. But in the meantime, this particular contract, so the contractor in charge got in touch with me 2 weeks ago, asked for our input, asked for us to submit a price as they were submitting to a government authority. So we should know very soon if we're going to get that. And that is going to be a 14-month project with the possibility of an additional larger extension behind it. So in talking to the construction engineer who got in touch with me, this is just phase one of a multi-phase project. So if they get the bid, that means AZ Drone will be extending that as well. So we could be looking at an extremely long-term project. Also, while I was talking to the engineer, I ran past her the fact that we do online classes and we do these live streams and things, and that I would want to be able to reuse that content that I'm providing to them for new courses and for new streams, which they didn't have a problem with at all. So that's awesome. So what I'm hoping to say to you all in the next 2 weeks is that we landed the contract and that we'll be starting it next spring. If that's going to be the case, we're going to be doing multiple site visits to pre-plan some of the routes because we're going to have to be going around the river area for part of it. We want to make sure that that we're not going beyond visual line of sight. We, of course, will be doing a visual observer as well. But we're going to have to break this particular part of the project probably into 3 segments. And the new part of the project is probably going to be more like 5 to 6 segments. So if we get that first part, that's going to be really exciting. Hey, 1K horsepower, good to see you. Thanks for the congrats. I'm pretty excited about it. So they accepted our bid. So now it's up to the government authorities to accept theirs. Are they going to want to have LiDAR? From Corey, no request for that. So they did have some specific requests. They want a video flight every single time. They do want active orbits around active areas. And then there's going to be a special focus to that bridge area when that's going in. So they're talking about 2 flights a month with a potential to expand that depending on the reaction of the folks who are receiving the final stuff. So we're going to be going out and doing that pre-planning beforehand, as I talked about in my construction progression class. I'm going to be doing a lot of pre-planning. So that's also factored into what we're going to be billing them. And if they do add to the project and say, you know what, we want you to fly 4 times a month instead of 2 times a month, we've already set up how we're going to grade things for payment on that. So we'll talk about that if we get it. We'll go deeper into this one because I know a lot of you are always, what's the price? What's the price? And it's really dependent. So if we go in and we start doing video and we start doing some stills and we start doing some specific orbits, um, I have to sit down and say to myself, it's going to take this much time on each of these items. I'm sorry for the extra background beeps. I thought I quieted everything else. Yeah, I'm really hoping that we get to do it to 1K horsepower because number one, I'm excited about the flight. I know the area very well. There's going to be some incredibly scenic backdrops there. So not only is this a road construction project, but it's a road construction project going into a pretty amazing area. And, you know, tens of thousands of tourists go through that area every year. So I'm not going to give away location yet, but hopefully in the next 2 weeks, I'll tell you all about the location and probably take you for a ride out there so that you can see what's going to be, what's going to be going on in that area. So it's really exciting when larger construction companies get in touch with me because it proves out that we are delivering what people are looking for. Speaking of that, we did turn down another project recently that was a rush project for a 60-acre area. And number one, we just can't be rushed like that. Number two, we need to do a little planning. I can't just give you a price immediately. So I explained that to the project coordinator of that one, and they just needed a price and somebody there now. When people are in that much of a hurry, when they're in that much of a push, and you're kind of that last minute thought, some things can get lost in translation when you're talking to them. And by that, I mean, if they think that they can get you to drive a couple 100 miles tomorrow to go scope out the area and give them a price now, give them a price now, give them a price now, can you imagine what working with them is going to be like? Because if you're the afterthought, and they forgot to mention to you, oh, we want these 3 other things, somehow it always seems to turn into your fault. So I like the clients who are a little more patient, who understand it takes a few minutes to put together your quotes, and then it takes a few minutes to put together, and it's more than a few minutes, put together your final proposals. So when people get in touch with you, gauge how they interact with you. If it's really rushy and pushy, then you know that might be a function of what's going to happen to you while you're out in the field for them. So when folks are understanding that you need to do a little background research for them first, I love working with those people. They always work out really well. All right, let's talk about this insane weather. Well, it's not insane weather. It is coming into winter for so many people. Like I mentioned, I went over to 51 Drones, caught up with Russ, saw some of his videos outside in the freezing cold, but that's to be expected given where he lives. When you think of Arizona, you don't think of super rough weather except during monsoon season, and you don't think about, snowstorms and things. But where we are in Arizona, we're over a mile high. Extreme winds are a regular occurrence, especially in the spring. And then with these winter storms coming in, we usually get some crazy winds as well. With that in mind, when you start quoting projects for people, you have to keep in mind that things are weather dependent, and you need to let your potential clients know that. Let me take a look back over. So Corey clicks, I'm waiting on 2 projects, 80 acres, water treatment plant. That's awesome. 16 months. Fancy clubhouse on the seashore, 14 months. That's awesome too. Those could be 2 great projects. The pushy clients could also be the dodgy ones. Yes, Ray, that's exactly it. And through my years of doing web development work for clients, the people who call me and say, what's the price of a website? What's the price of a website? What's the price of a website? And they neglect to say to me, we'd like it to be e-commerce. We'd like it to showcase homes for sale that we have. We'd like it to, direct people to another part of our services. When the people call and they just say, I want a drone flight. Well, there's so many different things we can do for them on a drone flight. And there's so many different things we can do for them with web building. So when they don't specify the things they want, and you normally do need to help coach them through their decision process, of course, that's part of the obligation on you, is to let everyone know what services are available. But when they're uncertain about what it is they even want from you, oh, well, search engine optimization should be in there, e-commerce should be in there, we want 4 or 5 different forms that send to different departments. All of those things add up in how much time it takes me and how much time it takes you to do this work for them. So if you can't get those folks to slow down and they're overly pushy, and you can afford to, I'd take a pass on that. Or see if you can slow them down and explain to them the process that you undertake when you're bidding their work. Sorry, just taking a look back over on the screen again. So yes, as Ray pointed out before, we finally get to see Jody hiding out in my North Face jacket. So this was yesterday. We had some awesomely crazy winds blowing right into the patio area, and she was sitting outside texting with a friend just to experience it. So there was the fun. Now, we have an upcoming flight on Wednesday. Everything is looking okay for it. The realtor who had gotten in touch with us had gotten in touch last week, and this is a really cool realtor because he gave a call on Friday and he said to me, we talked about Tuesday or Wednesday. Let's just go ahead and slate it for Wednesday because of the possibilities of this winter storm. So he was completely 100% aware of some of the things that impact us as drone pilots and impact giving a great final product to this client. So in the case of this one, this is going to be short video flyover. Stuff's going to be under 2 minutes long. We're going to do the cardinal points for some of the images. However, this is an extremely long and narrow parcel of land. It's an odd parcel of land. So it's very, very wide, but not very tall. And it's got some strange areas that maybe are following along a dry riverbed or something. So I've already started pre-planning the area and thinking through the video side of it. We're actually going to be meeting the realtor on the location because he is looking to do more work with us. He's already asked about another location down toward Phoenix, and we're up in the air on that one, and I'll tell you why in just a couple on that. So actually, let me pull up. I'm going to move this mic a little out of my... So I'm pulling up the iPad mini really quick just to show you all. So let's see here. Am I on the network? I am on the network. So let's start up the screen mirroring. So just waiting to get that. Richard's iMac. So we should see this popping up on screen in just a moment. And it always asks for that little key code. There we go, 1774. Just waiting for it to let me punch it in. Okay, 1774, there we go. And just waiting for it to come up. All the screen sharing and everything, fantastic. I love being able to use these for presentations. So here we are on the iPad, and the whole reason I popped onto the iPad right down here is to get into my Kitty Hawk account. Now, with all this crazy weather going on right now, with the extreme winds and the snowfall in some areas, yesterday was not a day to fly for anyone. Saturday was not a day to fly for anyone. So, when we schedule with clients, we always do talk to them about weather permitting. Now, there's a lot of ways to keep up with weather forecasts for your drone flights. So you can go over to 800WX Brief, which I'll pull up on screen in just a few minutes. I've got it up and waiting. There are apps like Hover.io, and then we've got Kitty Hawk. And I tend to look over at Kitty Hawk regularly. I do use them for my Lance requests, and they give me just about everything I need for information, including the ability to do my Lance request. So we're just looking at the Kitty Hawk screen right now. Actually, let me minimize these background things. They're kind of distracting, aren't they? There we go. So we'll just move that on over now. So we've got this great summary right away. So 30 degrees Fahrenheit right now. It's still freezing out. I went out this morning and yes, froze. The winds are not what they were yesterday. Yesterday we had gusts into the 30s. And so today they're calling for 7 miles an hour. One of the things here in the Prescott area is that while we can be getting wind blasted, if I drive a couple miles into town, it could be fairly calm. It's very weird how the weather works here. So I am always checking, whenever we've got upcoming flights, I'm popping into another weather application I have. I also am checking on Kitty Hawk to see if I need to do a Lance request. And also I get all of that information from them. So you can go down to the bottom and you've got flight authorization and forecast. So I'm just going to tap on the forecast here. So this is one of the things that I really do appreciate about Kitty Hawk. They're giving me more information than just whether or not Rich can do a Lance request. And also on screen here, we can actually see the areas that we should not be flying. So over toward Cottonwood, I think that's Tuzigoot, the Tuzigoot National Monument. And once again, I need to turn the ringer off. Sorry about that. So the phone is off, but apparently my Apple Watch is not. So I can go and get the forecast really quick. It's going to give me an idea of the day to make sure that, yeah, we're going to be good to go out. So Wednesday morning, I'll be checking this again. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we'll be checking our forecast, and then we'll be coordinating with the realtor. But keeping up on where the weather is at is a huge part. I mean, drone flight, we're outdoors, right? So we're always going to be weather dependent. And so whether it's a small real estate job or the large construction job that I was talking about earlier, when you're writing up your contracts, when you're writing up your proposals, weather dependent should be all over the place in what you write down for folks. So keep that in mind. And normally that first conversation that you're having with clients, you can let them know those things about you. I always let them know that it's weather dependent, that we do not put down property borders on properties, that we're imaging for them because we're not licensed survey engineers. I also point them to our website to check our caveats so that they know what we do and do not do. And so we've got a small list of things that we don't do and don't work with. And then all the rest of the things we can always negotiate with the clients. So I just wanted to pull that kitty hawk up there so you could get a look at that. And we'll go ahead and turn that one off. And whoops, let's get out of settings here. Let's go ahead and turn that screen mirroring off. There we go. All right. So also this morning when I'd set things up, I had also popped up 1-800-WX-BRIEF. If you don't know about 800-WX-BRIEF, this is a tool for pilots. This is not just about drone pilots. 800-WX-BRIEF has been around a lot longer than most of us have with the drone flights. So you can actually set up a free account with 800-WX-BRIEF, and I would suggest doing that because you can also call into them when you're starting and stopping your missions as well. So you can actually report in, but there we go. It logged me out because I hadn't been on long enough. So let's take a look over, make sure I haven't missed anybody else's comments. All right, haven't missed out on anybody. So I'm just waiting for that login. For some reason, that login's a little slow. There we go. So I actually do have an account through 800 WX Brief. By the way, WX Brief is for weather briefing. So folks can call in and announce their intentions for, you know, the flights that they're doing with this. And you can also go over to those weather charts. And as you can see, we've got a sectional in here. We do have some weather areas still. So we're right in this circle here, KPRC. But to the north and east of us, up at Flagstaff, you can see that there is still some precipitation going on there. And then over to the east, southeast of us, you can see some other weather systems in the area too. But everything is clearing out today. There's some stronger cells over there. But so you can quickly and easily see where the weather is. And for those of you who are comfortable with the sectional charts, you might be really happy to see this. We also use Sky Vector for looking at charts and restricted areas and things, and you know where we're going to need to be calling in or submitting Lance requests to. But you can actually see a lot on these. Like right over here is the Granite Mountain Wilderness area near Granite Basin. And so this is actually wilderness area, so we don't fly that. We've got other wilderness areas in the area. And also over toward the Sedona area, you can see where the wilderness areas are there as well. I recently got some more questions on flying Sedona. So I just wanted to show if you're using Sky Vector or WX Brief, you can take a look at the sectionals and see for yourself where these wilderness areas are, where the TFRs are. So those will also pop up over on Sky Vector as well as on my Kitty Hawk. So, but I always double check. I don't look at just one source for information before we do a flight. I will go over to Sky Vector. I will check Kitty Hawk. Sometimes I'll check air data as well. So in our planning, make sure to let your clients know weather dependent and also dependent on such things as TFRs, for instance. We had several of them here a couple weeks ago during the election campaigns. So we had multiple TFRs for important folks flying through. And you got to pay attention to those too. So I thought today's was going to be a little shorter, and it is. We're only at a half an hour. So I shoot to keep everything below an hour on the live streams. And I think we did okay with that today. So If you're uncertain of weather apps out there, feel free to drop a line and leave comments here, and I can give you a list of the ones, because I do have multiples on my iPhones and iPads and everything. But always make sure to let people know your capabilities, so even beyond weather. I also let people know if it's a beautiful day, but if it's over 20-something miles an hour with my Mavic 2 Pro, it doesn't have the easiest time, so our still photos could come out a little blurry, so we'd rather fly on days that are below, anything under 22 miles an hour has been fine with my Mavic 2 Pro. And as we've been getting over those wind speeds, like when we went up to Coconino County the other week, I was really pushing it with the Mavic 2 Pro. So it did survive the flight. We kept eyes close on it, but it was complaining a lot about the wind gusts. So remember, your drone is going to tell you about those things. So if you're keeping the drone close, that's one thing. I think if you're flying far away, if you're starting to get to the edge of your visual line of sight, or your visual observer's visual line of sight, and you're experiencing those kind of winds, it might be time to pull it back in and replan. All right, I'm going to close that WX brief, and we'll go ahead and close these as well. So there we go for this week's live stream. If anything interesting comes up, if we get that contract, I'll be letting everybody know. Let me take a look over there again. UAS Sidekick. I have not. I'm writing it down now. UAS. I've seen it, and I've been asked about it, but I'm marking that one down too really fast. One of the other things to take note of, so we've got another larger project that we're actually working on from here right now. We're supposed to be going down to Casa Grande. We have pushed that timetable out after a couple of physician visits, and somebody complained on channel once. They were like, I don't want to know about that. Part of my reality of my drone business is that I'm working around 2 stupid autoimmune disorders. So that's going to be part of this channel sometimes, because it actually impacts my work. Due to some things that were expressed by my physician the other week, we're going to go ahead and keep it close to home. So we're going to be doing some of our work for our clients from here. When it comes to the imaging and aerial work, we're pushing that schedule out for them. So we've already discussed that with the clients and explained to them why we're going to be pushing that part out. But we can get the rest of their web development side done. So I've been focusing a lot on those client web development items, and I've also been focusing on one of my new classes. So I've only got so much time in the day, and I'm not going to be recording from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. With the differences in projects. So I was hoping to continue additional YouTube videos here, throughout the week, not just the live streams. But given the workload we have right now, which is good, I'm glad we're still viable and, not missing out on possibilities. But with the workload going on, I haven't been doing a lot of testing of other items. But so UAS Sidekick's one that I'm interested in. There's another one that I jotted down for myself the other day. So when we have a little free time again and no blasting winds and no snow or ice on the ground, I'll look into a couple of these flight apps that I haven't tested out yet. Once again, once you find what works for you, for your flight applications, you don't have to try all the newest, latest, and greatest. If you have a workflow that's really working well for you, go with it. I know that, the brand new drones are always coming out. The new apps are coming out. Who knows what other new software is coming out. But remember how much time you've invested into your workflow. So once you have something that works well, that you get great client feedback on, you might want to stay close to that, because redeveloping an entire workflow is time consuming and costly. It costs you a lot of your time that you could be out getting additional projects instead of trying the latest software. But I do mean to try some of these. So hang in with me, and when I have an opportunity, we will. Let me take a look back over again. It was so windy yesterday, even Map Pilot was screaming high winds at me. Didn't even know it and do that. Yeah, it's it's going to let you know. And that's coming from the drone is letting you know, and coming from the drone controller is letting you know. But yeah, when we were out in Coconino the other week, all the wind forecasts were fantastic. It looked like a great day, nothing over 14 miles an hour. But I forgot I'm in Arizona. So when we drove out into the middle of nowhere, when we took our ride out there, and I do have some video of that, but when we took that ride out there, I didn't think about the fact that we're on the high plains, And the direction I was driving in was west from Route 64. And so off in the distance, I could see a giant wind farm that's been constructed over the past couple of years. So, the giant wind turbines. Now, my brain's getting a little older. So I should have thought about the fact, Rich, you're staring at a set of giant windmills in the distance. This place is probably windy. so, so while we were down in Williams, it wasn't super windy. When we were coming up on part of 64, not too bad. But when we drove out up onto that plateau and just started driving, wow, that's where the winds were. And when I got the drone off the ground and, just got it up to 60 feet, there was even more, just 60 to 100 feet above us. So it was really impacting us. But yeah, I should have thought to myself, you're driving toward windmills, man. You might have a slight breeze. All right, let me take a look over here. That's why I still fly the original Mavic Pro. Yeah, I've still got the original Mavic Pro as well, Ray. And that one I use more for actually testing the app. So when someone asks me about testing an app, I go and I see if the Mavic Pro can do it first, because if I lose the Mavic Pro versus the Mavic 2 Pro, it won't hurt as much. Yes, my drones are insured. But still, if you down a drone and you have other projects coming up and you have to wait to get that next replacement, that could also hurt you and your business as well. Well, all right, everybody, I'm going to wrap this one up because I have to go look up meta tags for a plugin called Essential Grid. So if you're a WordPress user, you might have seen the plugin called Essential Grid. You can make some really cool grid setups from different posts or pages. And so now one of my clients wants to be able to use meta tags in Essential Grid. So that's a new one on me. By the way, all of us who are into tech stuff, we don't know everything off the top of our heads, but we do know how to go research things. So when a customer, a potential customer, asks you about something, if you don't know about it, be honest with them and say, that's not something I've utilized before. However, let me go do a little research on that and I'll let you know if it's something that we can do for you. Whether that's drones or web services or programming development, whatever it is you're into, if you don't have the answer immediately, it doesn't mean that you can't go get that answer. Back in my telecom days, I was the guy who always said, I don't know, but I can go research it. So I ended up with a lot of research projects on my plate in addition to the work I was doing. But I don't mind doing that research. It's kind of fun. All right, everyone, you have a great start to the week. We'll see you next week. If I can get other videos up this week, I'll let you know. Oh, and for the folks on Patreon, I did load several more new videos for the beta testing for the new Post Part 107 class. So you guys are already signed up to that. So if you just go over those videos, should be accessible to you. For those of you who haven't seen any of this yet, I am building an entire new class, and that's going to be released in the near future. I'm not even going to give a date at this point because interruptions keep coming up. But so for some of the folks on the Patreon channel, they've volunteered to check the stuff out and make sure I'm not talking through my hat. All right. We'll see you again. Oh, let's take a look over. You're welcome, 1K horsepower. I hope you all have a great start to the week. And at the latest, we'll see you again next week, and we'll still be here at the studio. And hopefully we'll have some new video and some stills from Wednesday's flight, because I'd also like to do another video recording out there, talking more about these raw land sites again, because we're getting a lot of raw land site business. So I want to talk a little bit more and talk about how maybe you can start getting into some of your own raw land sites on behalf of realtors, sellers, and buyers. We'll see you next week.